Her male best friend, Jason, leaned back in his chair with that smug grin plastered on his face, swirling his glass of wine like he owned the room. We were sitting at a long oak dining table at Amanda's co-workers' dinner party, the kind where everyone pretends they're happier and richer than they really are. My wife, Amanda, sat beside him, laughing too loudly at his dumb jokes, her hand brushing his arm more than once. And then, in front of everyone, Jason said it. Loud, clear, and cruel. "She could do way better than you." The whole table froze. Forks midair. Glasses hovering at lips. I felt the heat rise in my chest, like someone had just set fire to my insides. My knuckles whitened around the stem of my glass, but I didn't flinch. I didn't look down. I stared right at him. I shut him down with one line, sharp enough to cut glass. "Funny, because the only thing you're better at than me is being an embarrassment." Laughter rippled awkwardly down the table. Some people tried to hide it, others looked at their plates like they wanted to disappear. Jason's smirk faltered, his face twisting, but before he could spit something back, Amanda snapped at me. Her voice was shrill, slicing the air. "Apologize. Right now. Or we're over." Over. Just like that. In front of strangers. Her loyalty wasn't with her husband, it was with him. The man mocking me. The man who sat there, smirking again now, enjoying the chaos he'd stirred. And me? I smiled. That's it. I didn't say a word. No begging, no excuses, no groveling. Just silence. Amanda's eyes burned into me like I'd betrayed her by not bending, by not kissing the boots of her so-called best friend. But what she didn't realize was this: my silence wasn't weakness. It was the sound of a door slamming shut in my soul. That night, when we drove home, she was furious. She ranted the whole way. How I embarrassed her, how Jason was just a friend, how I was insecure and controlling. She lied through her teeth, twisting the story until I was the villain. Every red light was another chance for her to throw venom, every green light another stretch where I clenched the steering wheel so hard I thought it would snap. But I didn't fight back. Not yet. I let her spit her poison, because deep down I knew something she didn't. She thought she'd won. She thought I'd fold, that I'd break under the weight of her threats. But what she didn't understand was that a man who chooses silence isn't surrendering. He's planning. And I was planning. Weeks passed. Amanda's behavior shifted like night turning into day. Late nights, working. Her phone suddenly always on silent. Texts she'd tilt away from me. Perfume lingering on her clothes when she swore she was just at the office. The lies stacked up higher and higher, and every single one of them screamed the truth she would never admit. I started noticing the small things, the way she'd smile at her phone, the way she'd hide it under the pillow. She wasn't careful, she thought I was too blind, too soft, too forgiving. But I was watching. Every move. Every slip. And one evening, I found it. Her purse was left on the kitchen counter, spilling open. Her phone sat there, unlocked. A message popped up from Jason. 3 words. Just 3. "Can't wait tonight." My stomach dropped, but at the same time, there was no shock left in me. Just a hollow confirmation of what I already knew. The affair wasn't a suspicion anymore, it was a reality. I put her phone down gently, like it was a loaded gun. And I laughed. Not loud, not hysterical. Just a small, bitter laugh that echoed in the empty kitchen. Because in that moment, I knew, she was about to learn what done really meant. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there beside Amanda as she pretended to be dead tired, turning away from me, breathing shallow like she was forcing herself into some fake dream state. I stared at the ceiling, running through every detail of her behavior, replaying every lie she had fed me over the last few weeks. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized her betrayal wasn't just physical, it was in the way she'd thrown me under the bus in front of Jason, the way she defended him. The way she made me feel like I was the problem when deep down she was the one digging the knife in. The next evening she dressed up nicer than usual for overtime at the office. Tight dress. Heels. A little extra perfume. She thought I wouldn't notice, but I stood in the doorway watching her smear lipstick on, her hands trembling slightly. She couldn't even look me in the eye. "Don't wait up," she said casually, like she was rehearsing a line in a play. I nodded, kissed her cheek, and let her walk right into her own trap. The moment she left, I followed. Not too close, just enough to keep her in sight. Her car wound through the city, not toward her office but across town, to a bar with tinted windows and loud music spilling onto the street. And there he was. Jason. Leaning against the door, grinning like he'd just won some sick prize. She ran into his arms like I didn't exist, like the vows we made were just background noise. I stayed in the car, heart hammering in my chest, anger and disbelief wrestling inside me. I watched them walk inside together, hand in hand, her head thrown back in laughter. The kind of laughter she hadn't given me in months. I could have stormed in, made a scene, torn the whole place apart, but I didn't. I wanted proof. Cold, undeniable proof. So I waited. 2 hours later, they stumbled out together, closer, Messier, his hand all over her waist as if she was his. They kissed in the parking lot, and for the first time, I felt my chest crack open. It wasn't anger anymore. It was grief. The kind that makes your stomach drop and your hands shake. I drove home ahead of them, sat in the living room with the lights off, waiting. When Amanda finally crept through the door, heels in her hand, I didn't say anything. She whispered a fake yawn, muttered something about late paperwork, and went straight upstairs. I could still taste Jason's smug words from that dinner, "She could do way better than you." And now I knew exactly what he meant. The lies only got bolder after that. She'd come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. She'd hide receipts from hotels, claim they were from team dinners. She thought I was too naive, too blind. And maybe that's what hurt most, she believed I was beneath her, stupid enough to buy whatever garbage she threw at me. One night I asked her, point blank, "Are you seeing him?" She didn't even blink. Her eyes went wide with mock offense, her voice sharp like broken glass. "Are you insane? Jason's my best friend. You're paranoid. God, you're pathetic sometimes." Pathetic. That word. She spat it like venom. And in that instant, I realized there was no saving what we had. She wasn't my partner anymore, she was my enemy. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just looked at her, nodded slowly, and walked away. Inside, though, something snapped. She thought she could cheat, lie, humiliate me, and I'd still cling to her? No. Not anymore. Weeks later, when she finally came home from one of her late nights, she found a silence she didn't expect. My side of the closet was empty. My ring was gone from the nightstand. And on the kitchen counter, in the same spot where I'd once seen Jason's text, there was a single note in my handwriting. It read, "Now you'll see what done really means." Her scream filled the house. But I wasn't there to hear it. She called me 30 times that night. 30. I watched my phone light up again and again, her name flashing like a warning sign, and I let it ring every single time. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of hearing my voice. By the morning, she switched tactics. Long, rambling texts poured in, how sorry she was, how it wasn't what it looked like, how she just needed time to figure herself out. Lies stacked on lies, sugar-coated with desperation. I drove to my brother Daniel's place that day. He'd always been the blunt one in the family, the kind of guy who didn't dance around the truth. When I told him what had been happening, he didn't even look shocked. He just shook his head and said, "Man, we all saw the way she looked at him. You were the only one giving her the benefit of the doubt." That stung worse than I expected. It meant everyone else had known. While I'd been out here playing the fool. Amanda showed up at Daniel's later, pounding on the door like a madwoman. Her mascara streaked down her face, her hair a tangled mess, her voice breaking as she shouted my name. She was playing the victim now, begging to talk. I stood in the hallway, watching through the peephole as she screamed, "Please, just let me explain." Explain what? That she had been sneaking around, laughing at me with him behind my back, letting her so-called best friend humiliate me at that dinner while she defended him? I didn't open the door. Daniel stood beside me, arms crossed, whispering, "She's just afraid she lost control. Don't cave." Days turned into a week. She didn't stop. Flowers at Daniel's doorstep. Letters slipped under the door. Late-night voicemails where her voice swung from anger to tears, telling me I was ruining everything, that I was heartless, that she loved me, that she hated me. The more desperate she got, the clearer it became, she wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. One night I went back to the house. Not for her, never again for her, but for myself. I needed to see the place that had turned into a stage for her performance. Walking into that kitchen, everything looked normal. Same table, same counters, same photo frames. But the air was poisoned. I couldn't even look at the couch without imagining her sitting there, grinning at texts from Jason while I was making us dinner. I went upstairs and found her asleep in our bed, curled up on my side. The sheet still smelled faintly of her perfume, but all I could think about was his cologne on her skin. I almost woke her up right then, almost dragged her out and demanded she tell me to my face why she'd chosen him over me. But I didn't. Instead, I opened the safe in our closet, pulled out the papers I'd prepared, and set them on the nightstand. Divorce. Final. Signed on my end. The next morning, she stormed into Daniel's again, shoving the papers at me like they were an insult. "You're not serious about this. You're just trying to scare me." I laughed in her face. A real laugh this time, deep and bitter. "Amanda, the only person scared here is you. You lost the game, and you don't even realize it." Her mask slipped then. The fake tears dried up, her face hardened, and the venom returned. "You'll regret this. Jason treats me like a queen. You were just comfortable. Safe. Replaceable." That word echoed in my chest like a gunshot. Replaceable. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I just stood, walked past her, and left her holding those papers with trembling hands. For the first time in months, the weight lifted. She thought she had broken me. What she didn't understand was that she'd built something else instead. A man who knew his worth. A man who no longer cared if she walked out with Jason, because I had already shut the door behind her. And as I drove away, I knew this wasn't the end. She wasn't done trying to claw her way back into my life. But neither was I done showing her what it meant when a man finally says, "Enough." Amanda didn't take silence well. When she realized I wasn't budging, she turned vicious. One night I got a message from an unknown number. It was a photo of her and Jason together at some rooftop bar, his arm wrapped around her waist, her lips pressed against his cheek. The caption read, "This is what a real man looks like." For a second, the rage nearly swallowed me whole. My hands shook so badly I almost smashed my phone against the wall. But then I stopped myself. That's what she wanted, my reaction, my pain, proof that she still had power over me. Instead, I blocked the number and poured myself a drink. If she thought flaunting her betrayal would break me, she was more desperate than I imagined. 2 days later, she showed up at my job. My office, in the middle of the day. She barged past the receptionist, stormed into the conference room while I was sitting with my team. Everyone froze as she slammed her hand on the table and spat. "You're really going through with this? After everything we've built?" I leaned back in my chair, calm on the outside though my chest burned. "Everything we've built? Amanda, the only thing you've been building is a future with him. Don't drag me into your mess." Her face went crimson. She glanced around at my coworkers, realizing she'd just exposed herself, then hissed through her teeth, "You're going to regret humiliating me like this." That night, I got a call from Daniel. He told me Amanda had been blowing up our mom's phone, crying, spinning stories about how I was abandoning her, how I'd lost it. Classic Amanda, turning herself into the victim, rewriting the script to make me the villain. For years I'd let her twist reality, but this time I didn't explain. I just told my family the truth. She cheated, she lied, she crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Silence followed, then slow nods of understanding. Finally, the truth was on my side. Meanwhile, Jason decided to crawl out of his hole. He cornered me outside the gym one night, smirk plastered on his face, acting like he'd already won. "You should have known she'd end up with me. We both know she was wasting her time with you." I stared at him for a long moment, weighing my options. Every muscle in my body screamed to knock that smirk clean off. But I remembered the dinner table. His words. Her defense. Her threats. And I realized something: he was nothing more than a prop in her play. A pawn. And pawns weren't worth breaking my hands over. So I smiled. Just like I had that night at dinner. And walked away. The silence drove them insane. Amanda called me again and again, her voice swinging between venom and desperation. Some nights she'd scream, "You'll never find anyone better." Other nights she'd whisper through tears, "Please, just come home." Jason sent smug messages about how happy they were, how I should move on. But deep down I knew they weren't happy. They were clinging to each other, fueled by nothing but spite. One night, Amanda showed up drunk at Daniel's again. She sat on the steps outside, mascara smeared, hair a mess, crying into her hands. "He doesn't love me like I thought," she sobbed when I finally stepped outside. "He's not you. He doesn't care." I stood there, watching the woman who had once been my entire world unravel into pieces. Part of me almost felt pity, almost. But then I remembered the cologne on her skin, the texts, the rooftop photo, her shrill demand for me to apologize at that dinner. And the pity vanished. "You made your choice, Amanda," I said quietly. "And so did I." Her head snapped up, eyes blazing. "You think you're better than me?" she spat. "You're nothing without me." I didn't answer. I just walked back inside, locked the door, and left her sobbing on the steps. That was the night I realized I was finally free. Weeks passed, and the silence between us turned into something permanent. Amanda tried everything: threats, tears, fake apologies, even parading Jason around town like some prize. But the cracks showed quickly. Friends who once tolerated their little act stopped inviting them out. Jason wasn't the charming, best friend, in the shadows anymore. He was the guy who stole another man's wife, and people treated him like it. Amanda hated that. One afternoon, I got an envelope in the mail. Inside were receipts, hotel bookings, dinners, even jewelry, all charged to our joint account. She had the nerve to use my money for him. My lawyer didn't even flinch. "This just makes the divorce easier," he said, sliding the papers back toward me. "Judges don't like when one party plays games." That night, Amanda showed up at Daniel's again, this time not crying but furious. She shoved the envelope at me and screamed, "You're spying on me. You're trying to ruin me." Her voice cracked, but her rage carried. Neighbors peeked through curtains as she ranted on the porch, calling me every name she could spit out. I stood there, calm, watching her unravel in public. Finally, I said, "Amanda, you ruined yourself. All I did was stop cleaning up after you." She froze for a second, then her face twisted into something ugly. "Jason was right, you were always too weak for me. At least he knows how to treat me like a queen." I leaned closer, my voice low enough so only she could hear. "Queens don't sneak out of bars at 2 in the morning. Stumbling into motel rooms. Queens don't burn down their own castles just to feel wanted." Her lips parted, but no words came. For once, she had nothing to throw back. She turned and stormed off, slamming her car door hard enough to rattle the windows. That should have been the end. But Amanda wasn't the type to let go. A week later, Jason himself called me, slurring, drunk, spitting threats into the phone. "You don't know who you're messing with, man. She's mine. She's not coming back to you." I laughed. A real, sharp laugh that made him stumble over his words. "Jason, you're the one who doesn't get it. She's not mine, she's not yours. She's nothing but her own mess. And one day, you'll be the one left holding the pieces." He cursed and hung up. And just like that, I knew their fairy tale was cracking. Days later, Amanda posted photos on social media, her and Jason on some cheap getaway, smiling like they had it all. But her eyes told the truth. Forced, strained, hollow. I scrolled past without a flicker of anger. She thought I'd break seeing her flaunt what she had. But instead, all I felt was distance. Like she was a stranger. And maybe that was the biggest shift of all. She hadn't just betrayed me, she'd freed me. I wasn't the man sitting silent at that dinner table anymore, swallowing the humiliation of another man mocking me. I wasn't the man gripping the steering wheel while she spewed lies in the passenger seat. I wasn't even the man standing in the kitchen, phone shaking in my hand as Jason's text lit the screen. I was something new. Something she couldn't touch. And that's when it really sank in, she had no idea what "done" meant, until now. The court date finally came, and Amanda showed up dressed like she was walking into a fashion show instead of a divorce hearing. Tight dress, diamond earrings, probably gifts from me once upon a time, and a fake smile plastered on her face. Jason was there too, sitting in the back like a proud spectator, arms folded, smirk ready. She tried to charm the judge, spinning her lies, painting herself as the victim. "He abandoned me. He refuses to work on our marriage." I was lonely. Every word out of her mouth was a dagger, but not because it hurt, because it was so damn predictable. My lawyer slid a stack of papers across the table. Hotel receipts. Photos. Text messages. Proof. The mask slipped instantly. Her smile faltered, her eyes widened, and she started stammering. For the first time, the performance collapsed in front of everyone. Jason shifted uncomfortably in his chair, no longer smirking. Amanda turned to him, eyes pleading for backup, but he didn't move. He just sat there, silent, as if he'd suddenly realized his role in her story wasn't the hero, it was the fool. The judge didn't waste time. Divorce granted. Assets split cleanly, but not in her favor. She walked out of that courtroom pale and trembling, clutching her bag like it was the only thing she had left. Jason didn't even wait for her, he slipped out the side door, leaving her standing there alone. I should have felt triumphant, but what I really felt was lighter. Free. Like I'd been carrying a mountain on my back and finally dropped it. That night, Amanda showed up one last time. She was shaking, her voice raw, mascara streaked again. "You don't understand, I didn't mean for it to go this far. Jason doesn't care about me, not really. Please, just give me another chance." Her words washed over me like static. I thought about every lie, every insult, every betrayal. I thought about her siding with him at that dinner, demanding I apologize while he mocked me. And I realized she wasn't begging for me, she was begging for control. "You finally got what you wanted, Amanda," I said quietly. You're free of me. And I'm free of you. Her face twisted, the tears instantly drying, replaced by that venomous glare I knew too well. You'll regret this, she hissed. No one will ever love you like I did. I opened the door wide, gestured outside. Exactly. And thank God for that. She stood frozen for a moment, then stormed out into the night. The sound of her heels faded down the driveway, swallowed by the dark. I closed the door behind her, leaned against it, and exhaled. For the first time in years, the house was silent, truly silent. No lies, no screaming, no venom. Just peace. And as I stood there in the quiet, I realized something. She thought betrayal had broken me, but all it had done was sharpen me. She thought she'd left me shattered, but instead, she had carved out a man who would never again mistake manipulation for love. Amanda was gone. Jason was irrelevant. And me? I was still standing. Stronger. Smarter. Untouchable. That was the real ending she never saw coming. Months passed, and the dust finally settled. Papers signed, house sold, accounts split. Amanda disappeared from my daily life like smoke after a fire, but every so often, whispers of her choices reached me. Jason hadn't lasted long. Without the thrill of sneaking around, without the drama of stolen nights, they crumbled fast. Friends said they fought constantly: money, trust, jealousy. He accused her of still wanting me, and she accused him of never being enough. The irony was almost poetic. One evening, I ran into Jason by pure chance. He looked nothing like the cocky man who once sat at that dinner table mocking me. His face was tired, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes hollow. He muttered something about Amanda being crazy, and how he should have stayed away. I didn't even respond. I just walked past him, because he wasn't my problem anymore. He never really was. Amanda, though, tried again. A message came through late one night: I made a mistake. I miss us. Please, can we meet? I stared at the screen, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger, or sadness, or longing. I felt nothing. Her words had no weight anymore. They were just empty air, falling into silence. I didn't reply. Instead, I started living again. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected while drowning in her chaos. I picked up hobbies I'd abandoned: boxing, hiking, late-night poker games with Daniel and his buddies. My life stopped revolving around her moods, her lies, her betrayals. The world opened up, wide and bright, and I finally remembered what freedom felt like. But freedom came with lessons, too. I replayed those nights in my head, not to torture myself, but to carve the truth deeper into me. The truth that loyalty isn't proven by words but by actions. The truth that love without respect is poison. The truth that silence can be louder than shouting. Sometimes I think back to that dinner table, to Jason's smug grin and Amanda's shrill demand: apologize or we're over. I remember the way I just smiled, said nothing, and let the silence hang heavy in the air. That moment defined everything. That was the shift. She thought she had cornered me, but all she did was show me who she really was. And if I could give advice to any man standing where I once stood, it would be this: pay attention. The small lies lead to bigger ones. The subtle disrespect becomes open humiliation. Don't wait until you're drowning to realize she's the one holding your head underwater. Walk away. Choose yourself. Amanda will forever be the woman who taught me what betrayal looks like up close, how it feels to be stabbed by someone you trusted with everything. But she also taught me something else: what strength feels like when you finally take it back. I don't hate her anymore. Hatred would mean she still mattered. Now, she's just a ghost from another life, a warning etched into memory. And me? I'm alive. I'm free. And I'll never let another person convince me that silence is weakness. Because silence, when used right, is the sound of power. Years later, the scars are still there, but they don't ache anymore. They're just reminders, quiet marks of where I've been and what I've survived. Amanda faded out of my life the way storms do. Violent, destructive, unforgettable, but eventually gone, leaving behind a clearer sky. I heard she bounced from man to man, always chasing something she couldn't hold. Jason was just the first in a long line of disappointments. None of it mattered to me anymore. I built something stronger out of the wreckage. A new home, a new circle of people who actually respected me, a new version of myself that wasn't afraid to walk away from poison. And for the first time in years, I didn't wake up with anger sitting heavy in my chest. I woke up light. Free. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take Amanda back if she changed. The answer comes faster than breath, no. Because change isn't in her nature. And even if it were, some lines, once crossed, can't ever be erased. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and I'll never forget the night she demanded I apologize while her so-called best friend mocked me. That was the night I saw her for who she truly was. That was the night I started planning my escape. Looking back, I don't regret the pain. Without it, I would still be stuck in that illusion, still making excuses for someone who thrived on disrespect. Betrayal burned me, but it also carved me into a man who refuses to settle for less than loyalty, honesty, and respect. If I had to give one piece of advice to anyone in my shoes, it's this: don't wait for her to admit the truth. She won't. Don't wait for her to change. She can't. Don't waste your life fighting for someone who treats you like you're replaceable. Walk away, even if it breaks you in the moment. Because on the other side of that pain, you'll find yourself again. Amanda thought she broke me. Jason thought he won. But here I am, standing stronger than ever. And them? They're just names in a story I'll never bother to tell twice. Done. That word carries weight now. Done with the lies. Done with the humiliation. Done with her. And the silence I chose that night, the one she mistook for weakness, turned out to be the loudest answer I could have ever given.